Ever scarfed down a plate of fries and then wondered where it all goes?
Mm-hmm.
Well, get ready because today we're diving into the wild world of animal nutrition.
That's right. We're going back to basics with this one.
Yeah, those 7th grade science textbooks, remember those?
Oh, yeah.
We're going to unpack some serious knowledge about how animals, including us, get their fuel.
It's really amazing when you think about it. Something we do every single day, multiple times a day.
Right.
But it's so complex. Like the actual nuts and bolts of what's happening in our bodies when we eat.
Absolutely. And we're not just talking about, what happens when you bite into a burger. We're talking about the whole system.
Yeah, the whole shebang.
Going all the way back to the fundamentals, how plants and animals get their fuel. It's different.
Totally different. And that's a really key starting point because it highlights how much animals, rely on plants.
It's true.
Plants are like the ultimate self-sufficient organisms, right?
Yeah.
Creating their own food just from sunlight, water, air photosynthesis.
It's amazing.
It is. And then you have animals like us. We have to rely on those plants.
Yeah, or on other animals that have eaten those plants.
Exactly. We're dependent.
It's like plants are running this incredible all-you-can-eat buffet, and we're just here to enjoy.
That's a great way to put it. And it makes you think, right, food, it's not just about satisfying hunger or enjoying tasty stuff,
Right.
It's deeper than that. It's about getting those raw materials our bodies need to function, to repair, to grow.
Yeah, totally. So it's like when we talk about food as fuel, it's not just a catchy phrase or whatever.
No.
It's literally the stuff that keeps our hearts beating,
Keeps our brains working.
keeps our bodies moving.
Everything, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like different types of fuel for a car. If you put in that low-grade fuel, you're not going to get the same performance as high-octane stuff, right?
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
So are you saying if we're thinking high-performance fuel for our bodies, it's not just about getting enough calories right. It's about choosing the right kind of fuel.
Yes, exactly. The foods that are going to give us the right nutrients, those building blocks, those are what our cells need.
To function at their best.
Absolutely. And that's where understanding the digestive system is so important. It's like that whole intricate journey that our food takes after we eat it.
It's like a machine, breaking it all down.
It is a finely tuned machine, turning complex foods into smaller and smaller components.
Right, so our bodies can actually use them.
Exactly.
Okay, so spill the tea. What kind of crazy contraption are we talking about here?
All right, well, let's start with the basics. Your digestive system, the pathway your food takes, begins with, your mouth.
Makes sense. Got to get it in there somehow.
Right. And from the mouth, or as the textbook calls it, the buccal cavity.
Fancy.
Right. That food travels down the esophagus. It's that muscular tube connecting your mouth to your stomach.
Okay, so far so good. I have a feeling things are about to get a lot more interesting.
Oh, yeah. Buckle up, because next we hit the stomach. That's where things get a little intense. We're talking about a place with hydrochloric acid, strong enough to, break down food.
Hydrochloric acid. That sounds a little dangerous.
Well, yeah. It is, kind of. That's the point. That's your body's first line of defense. Anything nasty that might have, snuck in with your fur bacteria, whatever.
No.
Plus, it helps break down proteins, which is a pretty important job.
Yeah, for sure.
But here's the thing. Even the stomach, it's just a pit stop.
Oh.
This is a long and winding journey.
So where do we go from there?
Okay, so from the stomach, your partially digested food, it moves on to the small intestine.
Okay.
Which, and this is kind of funny, despite its name, is actually the longest part of your digestive tract.
Wait, hold on. Small intestine, longest part.
I know, right? It's a total misnomer.
It's very confusing.
It is. But trust me, when it comes to digestion, the small intestine, it's the star of the show.
Okay.
This is where most of the nutrient absorption happens, and it's all thanks to its incredible length.
Okay, how long are we talking exactly? I'm almost afraid to ask.
Buckle up. The small intestine can be, get this, about 20 to 25 feet long.
25 feet? Are you serious? That's longer than a car.
I know, right? It's wild.
That is wild.
It really is. And it just goes to show you, our bodies have evolved these amazingly efficient systems just to get what we need from food.
So we've got this 25-foot-long intestine just crammed into our bodies.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, I'm already impressed, but how does it actually work?
All right, to really understand that, we need to talk about some of the amazing adaptations that are happening inside the small intestine. For instance, have you ever wondered how it manages to absorb so many nutrients from your food?
I mean, I have now. This is already way more interesting than those old textbooks made it seem.
Well, that's because we're going beyond the textbook here. We're about to get into the really cool stuff.
Okay, hit me with it.
Let's talk about villi. So, you know how I said the small intestine is really long?
Yeah.
Well, imagine, instead of just being a smooth tube, it's lined with, like, millions of tiny little fingers.
Yep.
Yeah, millions. All reaching out to grab onto those nutrients.
Okay.
Those are your villi. They increase the surface area of the small intestine, which basically means there's more space for absorption.
Okay, that makes sense. More surface area, more nutrients absorbed.
Exactly.
But why go through all that trouble, you know? Like, why not just have a smoother intestine? What's with all the tiny fingers?
That's a great question. And it gets to, like, the heart of why our digestive systems are so complex.
Okay.
It's all about efficiency. The more surface area you have,
Yeah.
the more efficiently you can absorb nutrients from your food. Think about it like trying to clean up a spill. You could use a paper towel or you could use a giant sponge, right?
Okay, yeah.
Which one do you think is going to soak up more faster?
The sponge, for sure.
Exactly. Because of all those nooks and crannies, it's got all that extra surface area. And our intestines, they're kind of like giant sponges for nutrients, thanks to those villi.
Whoa. That is a really good analogy. So our intestines are like giant nutrient sponges. Amazing.
It's pretty incredible when you think about it.
It is. But what about the stuff that doesn't get absorbed in the small intestine? Like, where does that go?
Well, that's where the large intestine comes in. But we can save that exciting adventure for later.
Oh, man.
First, I think we need to take a step back.
Okay.
And talk about the very beginning of this whole process. Chewing.
Chewing. I mean, it's important, sure, but I gotta say, I'm still kind of hung up on those intestinal sponges.
They are pretty cool, right?
Super cool.
But you know what? Even before those nutrients can get to the small intestine, chewing deserves its time in the spotlight.
Okay.
It's easy to take our teeth for granted.
So true.
But they are like the unsung heroes of digestion, I swear.
Okay, I'll bite. What's so fascinating about chewing? Besides, getting to enjoy the food?
Well, okay, think about this. We don't just have like one type of tooth.
Oh, right. Right. All those different names.
Yeah, exactly.
Incisors, canines.
Premolars, molars. I remember those diagrams from the textbook.
Oof, yeah, me too.
And they all had their own special names and purposes.
Yeah, and it was always on the test.
Right. But it's because each tooth, it's like designed to do something different. There are like specialized tools all working together to break down our food into smaller and smaller pieces.
So it's not just mashing it all up. There's a whole strategy going on.
Oh, yeah. Totally. Okay, so those sharp incisors in the front, those are for biting into things.
Okay.
Like a crisp apple or, tearing off a piece of bread.
Makes sense.
And then you've got those pointy canines. Those are perfect for like ripping and tearing tougher foods like meat.
Oh, right. The canines, like vampire teeth.
Exactly.
Yep.
And then finally, you've got those flat-topped premolars and molars in the back. They do the heavy lifting, crushing, and grinding your food into smaller and smaller bits.
Wow. So there's like actual engineering going on in my mouth every time I take a bite of food.
Pretty much.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's got to be what our stomachs are for, right?
Wow.
Like to really pulverize everything.
You're right. The stomach is a big part of it. But even before the food gets there, it meets another kind of a hidden hearing of digestion, saliva.
Saliva? You mean like that stuff that just makes my food slippery enough to swallow?
Well, there's a lot more to saliva than you might think. For starters, it's got those special enzymes.
Enzyme.
Yeah, enzymes, and they get to work breaking down carbohydrates right away as soon as the food hits your mouth.
Wait, so are you saying that digestion starts before I even swallow?
You got it.
I'm usually too busy like enjoying the flavors to even notice.
That's the amazing thing. Our bodies are working hard even when we don't realize it.
Yeah.
Have you ever noticed, like, when you're eating a piece of bread, it starts to taste sweeter the longer you chew it?
Now that you mention it, yeah, I have. I always thought it was just me, like my sweet tooth kicking in.
Nope. That subtle sweetness you taste, that's those salivary enzymes breaking down the starches in the bread into simpler sugars.
No way.
It's like a pre-show for the main event in the stomach and intestines.
That is so cool. Okay, so we've chewed our food. It's all mixed up with those powerful enzymes in our saliva. What happens next? Does it just like slide down a water slide to our stomachs?
Well, not exactly a water slide, but you're on the right track. Once the food is broken down enough to be swallowed, it takes a trip down the esophagus. It's basically a muscular tube that connects your mouth to your stomach.
Right, the esophagus, like a highway to the stomach, where all the action happens.
You could say that, although the stomach, it's more like 2 of our digestive drama, I guess you could say.
No
It's
problem.
intense, definitely.
Yeah.
But the real magic, the showstopper, is the small intestine.
Right. I almost forgot about that 25-foot-long thing.
Easy to forget about when there's, acid involved.
That's true. Speaking of, tell me more about that hydrochloric acid situation.
Oh, yeah, it's intense. The stomach is, seriously acidic, all thanks to that hydrochloric acid.
Like, how acidic are we talking?
We're talking strong enough to dissolve some metals.
Whoa. Okay, but, isn't that bad? For our insides.
Well, that's the thing. Your stomach lining, it's designed to handle it.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Otherwise, ouch.
Right. But why so intense? It's just to, break down tough foods.
Well, yeah, that's part of it.
Okay.
The acid helps to break down proteins in our food into smaller molecules called amino acids.
Okay.
But it also has this other important job, like the hydrochloric acid.
Yeah.
It helps kill off any harmful bacteria that might have, hitched a ride on your food.
So it's like our stomachs have this built-in defense system.
Exactly.
It's pretty cool.
It is. But too much of a good thing. It can backfire.
Oh, so too much of the acid would be a bad thing.
Exactly. The stomach has to maintain this balance.
Okay.
Too little acid, and
Yeah.
you might not digest food properly.
Right.
Or, you might get infections. But too much, and then you might end up with heartburn or even ulcers. Ouch.
No, thank you.
It's all about that equilibrium.
Wow. So our bodies are constantly doing all this stuff
Yeah.
to keep us healthy. And we don't even realize.
Happening all the time. Behind
Right.
the scenes.
That is wild. But okay, enough about the stomach. Let's get back to the main attraction, the small intestine.
Yes.
I want to know how this 25-foot-long tube
Yeah.
manages to absorb all those nutrients we've been breaking down this whole time.
All right, you want to know about absorption? Well, that, my friend, that's where those microscopic heroes we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
The villi. That's where they come into play.
The villi. Remind me one more time what those are exactly. It's on the tip of my tongue, I swear. 7th grade science.
All right, so picture this. The lining of your small intestine, it's not smooth,
Okay.
like a pipe or something. It's more imagine a fluffy towel
Okay. Yeah.
covered in millions of microscopic finger-like projections.
Millions.
Yep, those are your villi.
Okay, so instead of a slip and slide for our food, it's more like a nutrient obstacle course.
Pretty much. And those villi, totally not random. They're actually strategically designed to maximize how much your body can actually absorb those nutrients.
Right.
Because it's all about surface area.
Yeah.
The more surface area you have, the more efficiently you can absorb stuff. It's think about trying to soak up a spill. You could use a flat dish towel, right?
Right.
Or you could use a thick, fluffy bath towel.
Yeah, the bath towel's going to win that one.
Every time, because it's got more surface area, more little fibers to catch the liquid. And that's basically what the villi do for our intestines.
Okay. More surface area, more absorption. Okay.
Oh.
It's all coming back to me now. But those nutrients, they're not just hanging out in the small intestine, right?
Yeah.
Where do they go next?
Okay, so get this. This is where it gets even cooler. Once those teeny tiny digested food molecules, once they're absorbed by the villi,
Yeah.
they enter the bloodstream.
Whoa. So our blood is like a delivery system. It takes those nutrients to every single cell in our bodies.
Bingo. Think of it like this, intricate network of roads and highways,
Oh, yeah.
making sure every single cell gets the fuel it needs.
So that's how, I don't know, a salad can turn into energy for my morning workout or helps me focus when I'm writing. That's wild.
It is wild, and it just shows you how connected everything is in our bodies. We don't even have to think about it, but this whole process, it's happening constantly.
That's incredible. It really is. Speaking of things we don't really think about, what about the stuff that doesn't get absorbed?
Ah, yes.
What happens to all the leftovers?
The leftovers. Well, that's where the unsung hero of our digestive system comes in. The large intestine.
It's time for the large intestine to shine.
Right, because by the time the remaining food gets to the large intestine, most of the nutrients, they're long gone.
So it's like the cleanup crew.
Kind of, yeah. The main job of the large intestine is to absorb water and electrolytes from the waste that's left over.
Okay.
And that basically solidifies it into...
It's just say it. Poop. Everyone poops.
You're right. Everyone poops. And that, my friend, is the grand finale.
The final curtain.
The waste gets eliminated, and that is the end of our digestive journey.
Wow. I never knew there was so much drama involved with eating.
Right.
From chewing to microscopic villi to our stomachs being basically acid chambers.
It is pretty wild when you break it all down.
It really makes you appreciate what's going on inside our bodies all the time.
Absolutely. We take it for granted. But it's a pretty amazing system. And the more you learn about it,
Yeah.
the more you realize how incredible nature is, how everything is connected.
Well said. That about wraps up our deep dive into animal nutrition. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everyone.